Welcome to Destination Safaris, a Wild Earth's travel show that showcases safari lodges, their history, conservation efforts, stunning locations, and so much more. On today's episode, we are in the Eastern Cape with one of the hidden jewels here at Woodbury Tented Camp, situated here on the ridge looking down onto the magnificent Bushman River. Woodbury Tented is an intimate bush camp located on the now iconic Amakhala Game Reserve. It is owned and run by the Gush family, who will be taking us on a conservation and ecotourism tour through their beautiful camp. It is a great privilege to be sitting here with Giles Gush, doyen of the Eastern Cape Safari and owner of this magical piece of paradise. Hello, Giles.
Hello, Steve.
How's it going? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, lovely to be here on this wonderful afternoon.
So, Giles, now traveling a lot, I've seen many lodges, experienced many places. There's always an interesting story about how a camp came to be, why there. Tell us your story.
Okay, so our family runs two camps on Amakhala. There's Woodbury Lodge we built first, and then we built Woodbury Tented Camp after that. And as a child, I used to go to a camp, it was a hunting camp then, and called Ashcombe, which is set in the bush, and it had these little pathways that used to go between the dining room area and the kitchen and the different accommodation, which were old caravans and things like that. And part of that's what I was trying to recreate here, was these pathways going to the different tents of a childhood memory.
It's a very intimate feel, the shade, the light dappling through. You feel like you're lost in a little fairy paradise, it seems.
Yeah. So if that's what you feel when you're walking down there, then I've achieved what I was trying to achieve.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So Amakhala used to be farming. Now it looks at being one of the premier ecotourism destinations in the Eastern Cape. How did that come about? What were the hurdles? Who were the champions?
So this farm, Woodbury, was a family farm that's been in the family since 1853. There was a big drought in the late 80s, early 90s, and also other tourism products were starting to start up in this area. Mm-hmm. And we realized that we needed to do something different, and we really wanted to be part of this new industry that was happening in the Eastern Cape. And so Amakhala was started by four families that got together. The Foles family were the champions who kind of called us together, and yeah, so we first started talking about it in December 1998.
Okay.
And
I'm matriculated then.
Okay, yeah. And by October 1999, we had a constitution which we signed, and Amakhala was formed.
Amazing. That's not a very long history.
No.
But I mean, look at this place.
Yeah.
It's magical. But any major obstacles that you found?
Yeah, I think all of us were naive to the tourism industry. So we basically learnt everything by doing, and we had some help from outside people. Our neighbors were very kind to us and offered advice on stocking of animals and yeah, but a lot of it was learning by doing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us, because we were farms before, we had staff that worked for us on the farm.
Sure.
And they were kind of had a complete role change as well in what they had to find themselves doing. So a lot of them went from milking cows to being house cleaners and cooks and things like that. So
Quite a transition.
yeah, so we all did it together basically.
So it's first generation ecotourism, and now dating back to 18 something. How many generations now?
Yeah, so I'm fifth generation on this
Fifth
property.
generation.
Yeah, and I've got kids coming on. So
Incredible. That's
Yeah.
quite a story.
Yeah.
Quite a story. So Giles, tell us about the tents. What makes them special? Should people be afraid of maybe a visitor coming in during the night, or being too hot, being too cold?
So this camp is fenced. We decided that because of the thickness of the bush around here, is that you could never walk safely between the tents and the main areas and stuff like that. So there's nothing that can get into the camp that's going to really hurt you. So from that point of view, they don't need to worry about that. Obviously, there is a chance of a spider or a snake or something like that, but I think that's everywhere. We have electric blankets for the winter, so that keeps everyone really loves electric blankets. Get back to the bed after turn down, and the bed's warm for them. So that is the main way that we keep guests warm in winter. And then in summer we just use a fan.
And obviously it's ensuite, there's showers, it's not a
Yeah.
normal sort of tent that most people
No.
come to the bush think,
For sure.
what, you're putting me in a tent?
Yeah, and when it gets really hot, then the guys must come and swim in the swimming pool.
There is a pool.
Yeah.
Now, how many tents do you have, and are you able to accommodate families?
We've got 10 tents here, of which 2 are family tents. So we can have, it's got a small tent next to the main tent. So we can have 20 adults and 4 children to stay. We've got an age limit on the children. They can come from 6 years old. And yeah, people have booked out the whole camp for an occasion, and it really is a great occasion for that, and
Fantastic.
location to do that.
Fantastic. Nice to have the whole family coming out into an intimate, and then obviously you can have all sorts of special activities for them and big
For sure.
dinners and all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Great. So yes, families are most certainly welcome here at Woodbury Tented Camp. Tell us about the design of your camp. Why did you go for the glamping/tents?
So there are a couple of things. One is that Amakhala offers a wide range of different products, and also 3, 4, and 5-star properties on Amakhala. And I was wanting something that was a little bit different to what everyone else was offering. We went for the 3-star market because we already, as a family business, have Woodbury Lodge as well, which is 4-star. So we wanted to have kind of a foot in each camp, so to say. And tents I've always enjoyed tents. You know, you really feel like you're in touch with what's happening outside and things like that. So yeah, so that's why I chose tents specifically.
now, Giles, I think you've already covered it, but when guests stroll from their tents down these pathways up to the deck, what can they expect to find?
So sometimes the fence is quite close to the pathway. Certainly most of the tents are right next to the perimeter fence. So when they're leaving their tent, they might be able to see anything that's out on the reserve. The elephant come past here quite often.
We saw yesterday.
Okay, yes, yeah.
Here.
So you can see an elephant from your tent quite easily, sometimes a buffalo. And then within the camp area here, we've got one or two bushbuck that wander around. So sometimes, if you're lucky, you might see a bushbuck inside the camp.
They always somehow get in, don't they?
Yeah.
Feel very comfortable in these little intimate surroundings.
Yeah.
So obviously we're here by the pool area, but where do the guests normally enjoy their midday meals, or maybe a nice afternoon G&T before game drive?
So most of the activities happen in the central dining room lounge area, where we do all of our meals and get together before game drives, etc. So yeah, there's a central boma area and dining room lounge and the deck here around this pool, and also a deck in front of the dining room where people will get together and enjoy the scenery and the atmosphere.
And catch up and have lots of chats about what they saw on drive, no doubt.
Indeed.
Now, Giles, obviously the main attraction for guests out here is what happens outside there in the Valley Bushveld.
Yeah.
What sort of activities do you offer?
So our day really begins early in the morning with a morning game drive after a cup of coffee, and then for a couple of hours with one of our experienced guides, and then come back in for a breakfast stroke brunch. And then there's a little bit of free time before lunch that people can either enjoy the swimming pool or rest. And then lunch, and then afternoon game drive, sundowners, and then back for dinner. But there's that opportunity between breakfast and lunch where people can also do something a little bit different. So they can either join one of our horse rides or go on a guided walk on the reserve.
Fantastic. A horse ride, and that's in the reserve itself?
So across the road at the moment, we've got an area that doesn't have any dangerous game in it. So it's 1,700 hectares, and that's where the horse rides take place. So we get to experience a lot of, giraffe, zebra, antelope, cheetah in there as well that we sometimes see. Yeah. So.
Now, that would be quite something. I know I was in there yesterday, and we had the cheetah female, and there were eland in there. Quite something to be riding through the wilderness with eland and hartebeest, and maybe a cheetah moving around. That would be definitely something quite special.
For sure.
Having been open as a wildlife sort of area since 98, 99 or so, what is your most memorable wildlife experience here on Amakhala?
So I think the arrival of the elephants was a really significant day, and certainly changed the feel of the reserve. Yeah, and elephants have such a presence. So and this thicket, which evolved under elephants, hadn't had elephant in it for 150 years. So it was a great event.
A nice welcoming home.
Indeed.
Of those giants. Now, when was that exactly?
2002, I think. Yeah,
2002. So you've got some decent aged animals now.
yeah, we do.
The
So-
population currently about
23, 24.
okay.
Yeah,
And that's very special, and I'm sure they're doing the thicket a world of good, opening up some areas, because just looking around the camp here, it's very, very dense, and well, elephants are natural landscape engineers, aren't they? So
they are indeed.
what a splendid addition to
Yeah.
the Amakhala entourage. So now many travelers will ask, what do you eat in South Africa? And obviously, as you know, it's pretty normal food. But what at Amakhala here, what can you generally look to expect as a guest?
So I think we focus on traditional South African cuisine. We love a braai here, and
Barbecue, for those who don't know what a braai is.
yeah, and then breakfast is a special occasion out on the deck where you have a full English breakfast and more, and then lunch is normally a lighter meal, salad and yeah. So, but it's wholesome food. And lots of it, and yeah, you're not going to go hungry.
You're not going to go hungry. That's what everybody wants to hear, I'm sure. It's definitely the last thing that most of my guests in my life have complained about, is the lack of food at these lodges. There's always more than enough to go around. Giles, the conservation rubber meets the road where communities and wildlife intersect. What does Woodbury Tented Camp's community conservation look like?
So from the community side, we have a lot of people that are employed by us who are part of our community here. Their parents worked for my parents, their grandparents worked for my grandparents. So we have an intergenerational thing happening here, which is, I think, quite special. We have a bursary scheme at the local school, and it's administered by the Amakhala Foundation, where the children of our employees manage to get helped to get their schooling. We also have the Amakhala Foundation also focuses on exposing children to the environment, and my wife has been involved with that for many years. So the kids actually get out here and actually sometimes for the first time, even though they live on the border of a conservation area, will get to see an elephant or a rhino or something like that themselves. From the conservation side, we're very fortunate to have a dedicated team on Amakhala. We've got our own resident ecologist and general manager who have a real heart for conservation. So we're really quite conservative in things like how many animals we run, so that we tread lightly on the environment and have not too much of an impact on the vegetation, for instance. So we monitor our vegetation and our animal numbers and make sure that nothing gets overutilized. So I think that's very important.
All falling under the banner of conservation. People living in the landscapes next to these reserves, the reserves themselves managed efficiently,
Within the staff themselves, they also have a school bursary scheme that's also administered by the Amakhala Foundation that helps children go to the local primary school. And then also from a skills development point of view, people who have come in here as housekeepers or maintenance guys have managed to make a career, move into first being an assistant to the chef and then eventually being a chef themselves. So there has been a career path for some of them who've shown the initiative. A lot of the people that work for us are also part of families that have worked, multi-generational families that have worked for our family. So that relationship has gone back to their parents and their grandparents and my parents and my grandparents. And they live on the property and, as I said earlier, have moved from farming into ecotourism and conservation, which is a great story.
Fantastic. It's so important to look after those living around the borders of these wildlife reserves, because where there's lack, then there's issues, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've got guys who now are field rangers in the anti-poaching unit. We've got, one guy, he started as a maintenance guy and is now a chef. So
it's a nice story.
Yeah.
So now, Giles, I think the Eastern Cape is an incredibly underrated safari destination. Now, what differentiates or makes Woodbury Tented Camp stand out from others in the area?
I think in the context of the whole Eastern Cape, first of all, we are part of Cape Town and the Garden Route, which makes it a very special and compact holiday where you can experience so much in 2 weeks. So I think it's a really great safari destination to add on to a Cape Town Garden Route holiday. Woodbury Tented Camp itself is in the more affordable bracket, so I think that a lot of people who might not have gone on a safari can afford to come and stay here. And the animals are the same animals that everybody sees, but it's an affordable option, which is what we try to achieve when we were setting up the camp. And there's an authenticity about staying in a tent, and we've had many people just really enjoy the simplicity of this place.
An intimate camp where you will get looked after, where you'll eat well, you'll see lots of animals, maybe from your tent or out on game drive, and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. And Amakhala is also malaria free, which is a big bonus for those with young children and those who have conditions that maybe can't go up to Mpumalanga, Limpopo, part of the world. It does make it a very attractive safari destination here in the Eastern Cape. Giles, it's been amazing chatting to you, getting to know about this beautiful intimate camp of yours. I know many of the viewers out there are probably quite keen to come and visit. So if you'd like to know more about Woodbury Tented Camp, go over to the website, and who knows, maybe one day we'll find you wandering around here through the hills. But until next time on Destination Safaris, goodbye.